The Rams found their new breakout star, as well as new reports emerging of a Rams assistant coach being a hot commodity on the head coaching market this upcoming offseason, as well as 2 Rams players make it to the next round of Hall of Fame voting. We'll get into that and more on this episode of Rams Digest, and welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh, and before we get into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 5K, 5,000 subscribers. If you want to be a part of the journey, make sure to hit that sub button right now and click that notification bell. Click all so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content covering all things Rams, so you don't miss a beat this NFL regular season. Leave a like on this video right now. Week 8 underway tomorrow. Chargers and the Vikings going at it. The Rams on a bye this week, but we still got some news to get into today, and the first one is from Sports Illustrated Rams, where a new breakout star is brewing here in Los Angeles that we will get into right now. The LA Rams were witness to Konata Mumpfield's shining moment as the 7th-round rookie hauled in his first NFL touchdown against the Jaguars after securing his first NFL catch the week before against the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, he's had a nice solid couple of weeks while being more of a fill-in piece while Puka Nacua is recovering from his ankle injury. We'll obviously get the latest on that as this bye week concludes and we get into next week. But yeah, Konata Mumpfield's been a good replacement receiver. He's fit into the offense well. He's run his routes well, and he's been rewarded with a catch and a touchdown. And it all started back in OTAs. Mumpfield proved quite quickly that he was much better than a 7th-round pick would have suggested, and I believe after looking at his film and his product in the NFL, that had Mumpfield played for a program like Ohio State, he would have been a top 15 pick at least, and a top 50 at best, and a top 50 pick at worst. I don't know about top 15. It's like top 15 receivers, you gotta have it all. Like, you think of a guy like a Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, sure, they played at Ohio State and LSU, but they were also just so dominant in college. Obviously, the Neighbors' dominance has transformed at the NFL level, unfortunately out for the season. Wish him a speedy recovery there. And for Marvin Harrison, it's been a little slower, but again, it's all not necessarily his fault. And for Mumpfield, I would agree he would be picked higher if he went to a bigger school, but who knows if he would have got those same opportunities. We don't know, but he did prove that very quickly at OTAs. I do agree that I was talking about him a lot in preseason, so was Josh. He was having really, really solid preseason games. Proved his worth to be on the team, and he's shown it for sure these last 2 weeks. And during OTAs, I spoke with Mumpfield, and he shared that Davante Adams was providing a bunch of inside information in order to improve his game. Mumpfield listened, and when the team returned for training camp, the results were clear. And in training camp, Mumpfield was dominant again during training camp. While we could dive into his pristine route running or his solid hands or how his game mimes a version of young Davante Adams, there's one moment that sticks in my memory for when I knew Mumpfield was special. Yeah, for sure. It's really good that Davante Adams is on the team. I did a video about this probably a little over around 2-ish months ago, so if you missed that one after this one, go back and watch it, where I really dove deep into how Davante Adams was being a really solid leader as well for this younger group of receivers outside of Puka. He's still leading Puka, but Puka doesn't need nearly as much coaching as a lot of these other young receivers still do. So it's good to see that he's leaning on a veteran and most likely future Hall of Famer in Davante Adams. And again, in training camp, he was still just as dominant. These signs have been here the entire time, but it hasn't really come to fruition yet because the Rams are already so deep at wide receiver. But now with these injuries, unfortunately, you don't root for injuries for anybody, but with that does come more opportunity for some guys that don't play as often, and Mumpfield has taken the most of his opportunities and hopefully gets more as this season does go on. During the Rams and Saints joint practice, the Rams offense could not get anything going as they had ran a simplified playbook to not give away secrets. Despite the mundane output, Mumpfield climbed the ladder for a pass, mossing his defender for the catch. That play would have been impressive if Mumpfield didn't proceed to do the same thing again on the very next play. While it's difficult to remember the defender, Mumpfield decided to call game just because he wanted to, and it was amazing to watch. Yeah, that's an amazing play. I remember seeing that play all over the Rams social media and thinking, yeah, they got a steal in this guy. They did it with Kupp. They did it with Puka. Obviously, 2 guys who were in the best receiver in the league conversation at one point. Nacua currently, and Cooper Kupp obviously a few years ago. And Mumpfield, I don't know, will be at that level, but I think he'll have a nice, solid NFL career. When I say breakout star, I don't mean he's going to all of a sudden give you 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. No. What I mean is that for a 7th round pick, he can give you 500, 600 yards a season, be a solid wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 in the future, and he's a guy who the Rams can use more. The Rams have been looking for more outside of just Puka and Devontae. Terrence Ferguson, another guy who I touched on in my last video, who could be that guy because he's delivered every time they've decided to throw him the ball as well. The young guys, the rooks, getting more involved. And Mumpfield a better blocker as well than Ferguson, so Mumpfield can be on the field more, and he's been a good special teamer this year as well. So that's what I mean when I say breakout star. And plays like this just show you that this was brewing the entire off season, but a lot of people just didn't realize it. I knew Mumpfield was going to be good. I had him a lot higher than a 7th round grade. Louis Riddick talked about him all throughout the draft as an underrated guy, so he kind of got me put on. And I've been put on. He's definitely good, and I think the Rams do need to keep using him more and more. And at the facility, Mumpfield has been, at the very worst, the third best, of all pass catchers, depending on the day. And I'll say he eclipses Puka Nacua to be second to Davante Adams. I remember Mumpfield hitting a route so hard, planting his foot and changing directions with effortless quickness that Quentin Lake looked like he was running sideways as he tried to find his footing. Yeah, the third best feet of all pass catchers. Yeah, I can see that. Mumpfield's a very, very polished route runner, as we've already talked about. He has good feet. He knows where he's supposed to be. Good feet for the NFL field. He knows where he's supposed to be, and that helps. I mean, Davante Adams, we've seen him run these routes for going on 5+ years now of just pure perfection with his feet placement. We saw D-Hop be so good at that in his prime as well, Julio. So if he has the ability like that, not to be the players they were, because Julio, best receiver in the league at one point, same thing with D-Hop. So definitely not necessarily the production, but the route running, not necessarily the 50-50 ball ability again, because different body types, but still with that route running, definitely able to be a key contributor to the Rams as the season goes on, because when you get into late season, playoffs, teams I'm sure are going to be doubling Puka from time to time, that you're going to have some other guys open who are going to need to make these plays. Josh and I have been saying it, get these guys these reps now, and Mumpfield is another guy who the Rams need to get more reps over to. And all the hype surrounding him is real. It's been real since day one, and if he continues his rapid growth, he answers a lot of questions regarding what the future of the Rams offense looks like. That's also very true, because Puka is going to be there long term. They're going to sign him. He's going to get whatever extension he gets. He's going to be a top 5 paid receiver. In the NFL, he should be. He's proven that he's deserving of it. Devontae, still playing well. Again, you don't know how long that's going to last. Obviously, Stafford, you don't know how many more years he has. He's looked awesome so far this year, but if the Rams do win the Super Bowl, will he go out as a champion? Wouldn't blame him, but also wouldn't blame him if he kept going. So definitely interesting there. Outside of Puka, you don't know, and Kyren for the next few years at least, you don't know really the long term of your offensive skill players. So if Mumpfield can keep improving like he has and keep showing out that he's definitely a guy that isn't just breakout star for now in terms of being a solid complementary receiver, but he's a guy who can be a Ram for, potentially 10 years. Complementary receivers, you're not paying him as much, so he's a guy who can be here for the long haul. And leave a comment down below what you think of Mumpfield, because I really do believe that he's a guy who the Rams need to get more involved. Comment that down below. I would love to know what your opinions are on that. Now let's get into our next story of the day here from Turf Showtime. It's talking about Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula and his potential coaching outlooks for next season, and we'll get into that right now. One of the big questions for the LA Rams heading into the 2025 season was how much their defense would improve from year 1 to year 2 under defensive coordinator Chris Shula. Between the growth of young players like Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and Cam Kitchens, as well as a greater overall comfort level, improvement was more likely than not. Still, much of the national media had the Rams defense ranked in the bottom half of the league or even the bottom 10 during preseason. Through week 7, the Rams defense ranked second in the NFL in EPA per play, behind only the Houston Texans. However, it's worth noting that heading into Monday Night Football, the Rams actually had the number 1 defense in EPA per play. They're also allowing 16.7 points per game, which is second behind only the Texans. Yeah, the Rams defense has been elite this year. I don't know how people had it as a bottom 10 defense. I said it was a top around 12-ish defense heading into the year based on how they played. Last year I said they'd be around that 10 mark when the year ended. I didn't expect it to be a bona fide top 5 defense at this point in the season, and Chris Shula has done an absolutely amazing job. Definitely in the running for assistant coach, coordinator of the year. I know there's an award for that. It's either assistant coach or coordinator of the year. I don't know which one it is there, but comment down below if you have the exact name of that, because I know there's an award that highlights coordinators and assistant coaches. And Chris Shula, definitely in the running for that award as of right now. And other major analytics outlets also have the Rams ranked inside the top 5. PFF has the Rams graded as the 4th defense overall, while FTN Fantasy has them ranked 4th in total defensive DVOA. The Rams may rank 12th in yards per game and 9th in success rate, but they've been able to limit explosives and keep teams out of the end zone. The Rams rank 2nd in red zone defense behind the Denver Broncos, allowing a touchdown at a rate of 40%. Between the second half of the Ravens game and the first half of the Jaguars, the Rams defense had gone an entire game without allowing a single point. In 3 separate games, the Rams have held opponents scoreless in the second half. Yeah, and that has been key. Although PFF had Geno Smith graded higher than Patrick Mahomes in the Raiders-Chiefs game, which I don't know how, looking at that game, that Geno Smith outplayed Patrick Mahomes. He just didn't, so PFF maybe take that with a bit of a grain of salt there. But yeah, this Rams defense has been awesome, as I just mentioned. They're top 5 in pretty much everything, and if this does go on, the Rams have a legitimate shot. They're due right now to win the Super Bowl, but if their defense keeps playing like this, again, got to be better. Again, when you play the Niners in a couple weeks, I need to see better tackling of Christian McCaffrey. So that's the big game where the Rams defense does need to show up the most, because again, the familiarity between the two coaches. So besides that game, I really do believe this defense can shut down any offense in the NFL as of right now. Sorry about that. We're a little over 1/3 of the way into the NFL season, but this looks to be the norm for the Rams defense. It hasn't just been one-off performances, but outside of 2 bad halves of football out of 14, they've consistently been a dominant group. The Indianapolis Colts have the number 1 offense in football, and the Rams are the only team to hold them to under 29 points. In 2025, the Colts have averaged 33.1 points per game, and Shula's defense held them to 20. It seems as if McVay's coaching staff gets poached every offseason. McVay has consistently had to replace offensive and defensive coordinators on his coaching staff because they get jobs elsewhere. In fact, Schula replaced Raheem Morris, who ended up with the head coaching job for the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons on the schedule in around, I believe, in 6 or 7 more games from this upcoming one. Yeah, again, it makes sense. The Colts, by the way, have the best offense in NFL history. I believe as of right now, even better than the 07 Patriots, which we'll see if that stands. But if that does stand, holding them to 20 is going to be quite an impressive feat. Again, A.D. Mitchell, thank you for helping us win that game. But that is besides the point there. Yeah, McVay's always had to change out coaches, coordinators, and it doesn't really seem to take him hit. Again, you can blame some slow starts, but again, 2022 was the year everybody seemed to get hurt. In 2023, Stafford missed some time, Kupp missed some time, so those are the reasons for those slow starts there. Same thing in 2024 with Puka Nacua and Stafford all missing a little bit of time. So the injuries have really been the reasons for the slow starts and not the coordinator changes, which is impressive because we see the Eagles have to change coordinators and they tend to not necessarily do the best, with changing some coordinators. So definitely an interesting input for Sean McVay to see how he will have to adjust these coordinators if he has to adjust them, because we do have a new report about Chris Shula being a hot commodity as a head coach. And it certainly will depend on how many head coach openings come up and how difficult it is. And how difficult it is as teams look to develop a young quarterback. However, one team that can make a lot of sense for Schula is the Miami Dolphins. In the case of Mike McDaniel gets fired, Schula has the obvious connection to his grandfather being the legendary coach for the franchise. Initially, back in 2024, before Schula was promoted to D coordinator, the Dolphins interviewed him for the same position. That doesn't mean that McVay has allowed Schula to take the place as the head coach during specific games in the preseason. Yeah, McVay did allow Schula to coach a game in the preseason, so that does show his confidence. The Rams have also been one of the better defensive units in the NFL this season, and it's hard to say that Schula hasn't maximized the talent in that group. Nate Landman's having a career year along with Quentin Lake. Over the past 2 years, he's shown the ability to develop young talent as the Rams rank 31st in defensive spending, while 17.5% of the cap is being spent on rookies, and most of that is on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, it is, and that just goes to show you just how great the Rams are, and especially Chris Shula at developing this young talent. Because if you look at his coaching journey, I'm going to look down here so I can read this. He started off at Ball State as an assistant linebacker coach, grad assistant in Indiana in college ball, DC at John Carroll. Then he actually started with the rival Chargers back when they were in San Diego as a defensive quality control coach. Then he went to the Rams as an assistant linebacker coach, and then outside linebacker coach, then full-on linebacker coach. then pass game coordinator and DB coach, then pass rush coordinator and linebacker coach, then now where he is defensive coordinator. Started with the Rams in 2017. So he's really worked his way up throughout this entire organization, just showing what hard work can get you. And he's definitely proven himself as a coach with the Schula name. The Schula name obviously holds a lot of weight, and it should. His grandfather, Don Shula, legendary coach. Never going to disrespect him, but seeing Chris Shula getting his opportunities, working his way up, proving himself, he definitely deserves to be in the head coaching conversation. And the Rams have had one of the better, and Shula has these Rams playing. Shula has the Rams defense playing like one of the best in the NFL for sure. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they can build on that as Chris Shula looks to be a head coach. And something else is that Diana Rossini did report that Shula is someone who teams are keeping an eye on. So we will have to wait and see if he does get poached by some other teams. And comment down below right now what you think about that. Will Chris Shula get poached? Will he stay in LA? And if he does get poached, who can replace him? Again, a guy I would think of as Aubrey Pleasant is a guy who can be a potential replacement as a defensive coordinator. But if they bring someone else in from the outside, comment that down below as well. And now real quick from Rams Wire, the new Hall of Fame ballot has come out, trimmed from 128 members to just 52, and 2 Rams made the cut. So we're getting into that real quick right now. And while the LA Rams had 5 former players make it as nominees, only 2 advanced as candidates, leaving running back Steven Jackson, O-lineman Leroy Glover, and wide receiver Brandon Lloyd behind. Instead, it'll be wide receiver Torrey Holt and linebacker London Fletcher, waiting to see if they'll be picked as semifinalists in a few weeks. Yes. The only one there that really had a shot is Steven Jackson. Again, Todd Gurley would love it, but not probably going to happen. London Fletcher, here are his stats. Linebacker won Super Bowl with the Rams as a member of the St. Louis team. 4-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro. Over 2,000 combined tackles. 1,384 solo tackles. Only 4 seasons as a Ram. More known as a Bill and a Washington Commander, football team member. So definitely quite interesting there to see what team he'll go in with as a decent Ram. He didn't really make his Pro Bowls until his days in Washington as a later player. So only a 2-time All-Pro. Probably going to be close. But Torrey Holt is the main guy that we got to get into. I did this in another video, so I'm going to make this pretty quick, but over 13,000 yards, 74 touchdowns, Super Bowl, 2-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time yards leader, 1-time reception leader, NFL All-Decade 2000s team, team record for most receiving yards in a decade in total for the 2000s, 6 consecutive 1,300-yard seasons, 2 1,600-yard seasons tied for the most ever, and 17th most yards ever. Yeah, Torrey Holt's Hall of Famer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've been over this in another video. Not going to spend too much time on it, but he should have been in years and years ago. Torrey Holt looking to be a finalist for over 5 times now. He's been a finalist, so this could be the year he gets in. Drew Brees and Larry Fitz are going to be in. Should both be unanimous, so 2 spots are probably going to be gone there because they're first-time ballot guys and 2 guys who some of the best ever at their position. So those 2 places are set, but we have to see who else gets in. London Fletcher's close. He's got the tackle numbers, but the only 4 Pro Bowls and 2 All-Pros. And his All-Pros were, funny enough, really late in his career, looking at his football reference page. So definitely interesting. Comment down below right now what you think. Should these 2 guys be in the Hall of Fame? Will they get in? Torrey Holt should be in, no questions asked. London Fletcher is going to be a bit tougher. But leave that in the comments down below right now. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Thank you very much for watching. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We're on the road to 5K, 5,000 subscribers. If you want to be a part of the journey, make sure to hit that sub button right now. Click the notification bell. Click all so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content covering all things Rams so you do not miss a beat this NFL season. Leave a like on this video right now for Week 8 being underway. And Konata Mumpfield's 23rd birthday is on Friday, this upcoming Friday, October 24th, 2 days after I am recording this here on Wednesday. So leave a like for that. Wish Konata Mumpfield an early happy birthday in the comments. Comment down below your thoughts on Mumpfield overall. Should the Rams use him more? Is he a potential breakout star to be the future wide receiver 2 of this team? As well as comment below your thoughts on Chris Shula as a head coaching candidate and who could replace him if he does leave, and your thoughts on the Hall of Fame ballot for the Rams right now. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh, as always. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Rams Digest. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon for another one, and have a great rest of your day.